Do you feel like everything needs to be perfect before you launch your podcast? Well, think again, because in today's episode of Podcast Cafe, I'm joined by Fernanda Bertrand, a life coach, speaker, and host of the I'm joined by Fernanda Bertrand, the host of the Highest Self Project podcast. Fernanda came to me a few years ago asking to have a podcast strategy session. So after we did that, she was ready to launch, but was worried that everything needed to be absolutely perfect before she launched. So she shares how she just decided to launch her podcast from her car with a microphone and let perfectionism go. And it helped her stay consistent for over 40 weeks so far and counting. Her story is the perfect example of how starting scrappy is totally okay as long as you actually just start. As a podcast producer, you know I help my clients bring structure, strategy, and polish to their shows, but I also know that showing up with your voice matters more than having a perfect setup from day one. This episode is your reminder that there is room for growth and grace in podcasting. Welcome to the Podcast Café, where we're serving up everything you need to know about podcasting, from tips, stories, and strategies for podcasters from podcasters. I'm your host, Haley Hayhurst, the founder of Espresso Podcast Production, a full-service podcast agency helping business owners, creatives, and thought leaders launch and grow their shows. Whether you're just starting out or want to take your podcast to the next level, this is the place for you. Each week, we'll dive into practical tips, actionable strategies, and of course, stories from other podcasters so that you can build up a podcast that you love and that works for your business. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's get started. Welcome to the Podcast Cafe. Hey, Fernanda, welcome into the Podcast Cafe. I am so excited to be chatting with you today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat.
The listeners are in for a treat because I always say this every time I talk to you. I just feel so good after. You have such a good energy to you, and really the conversations you have on your podcast, like I love those as well. It's just like talking with you. So I love it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So since we are in the Podcast Cafe, I have to ask, what is your go-to coffee order?
It is a oat milk latte. I'm just so plain, not anything crazy, but a hot oat milk latte. And I take it hot, even in the summer. There's something
Really?
about it. I cannot have it iced coffee. It just doesn't hit the same.
I'm
So
having
like
an oat milk latte today,
you
so
are in
perfect.
my
Yes.
honor. Thank you. You're so sweet. But yeah, I like it hot all year round. Very nice and plain. Just
I love that.
milk
I
latte.
love that. Maybe I should start doing that. Maybe I should start asking this question ahead of time so I can have the drink of choice ready to go for the conversations.
You would too. You're
I
like
totally would.
coffee
Yes, I love it. I
addict.
love it. I really am. I need it. I always say whenever I'm editing episodes, I'm like, this was done by coffee. Like without coffee, these podcasts would
How
not go
can you live
out.
without it? I've done like 30 days without coffee, and I swear it was hardest thing I've ever done. Like harder than
Yeah.
giving birth. Like it was so crazy. I had like legit withdrawals. Like it
Yeah.
was not good.
Oh my
And
God,
then
like
I was
one
like,
eye
"No,
is
I'm
still
done."
shut. Yeah, it's so funny. Well, I hope I never go through that.
Don't do it. It's not worth it.
Not
Just keep
worth it.
drinking.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, well, we're here to talk about your podcast, The Highest Self Project. I was around when you first started it, and I was around even before when you were talking about doing it, and then you brought it to life. And you're talking about the messy, magical journey to becoming your highest self. This is a journey that you've been on for a while, and it's what you help other people on through your podcast, through the different ways that you work with people. It's all about that real talk, real growth, real impactful conversations. So tell us more about why you started the Highest Self Project.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, you were such amazing help when I was starting to figure it out what to do. I think was it 2 years ago? It must have
Yeah.
been because it's going
Mm-hmm.
to be a year now that I started. I'm on episode 42. So I called you and I was like, hey, I need help. And you really helped me brainstorm. And we had like this whole plan. But at the end of the day, I was just like, this is like too much for me. Like, because I want it to be perfect. And I just was like, okay, I'm just going to go and talk about things that are happening in my life and maybe not have like a legit, okay, this week I'm going to talk about this and that. And so I just kind of allowed it to be really loose and open. And that's how I was able to start it because I've had it in my heart for such a long time. I talked about wanting to do a podcast for probably 2 years before I actually started. I just would stop myself every time because I wanted to be perfect. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get a mic on Amazon. And I got this $20 mic and I just started recording in the car when I was taking my kids to their activities and I'd be waiting in a car and I was like, I'll just record it here. And I found that that was the best way to just start it, and keep it consistent. But I really did it because I felt like I had a message in my heart and I really wanted to share it. And I wanted to be raw and not
Mm-hmm.
polished and not necessarily perfect because I think this is what I struggle with is that I want things to be so perfect and trying to control it. And I wanted this to be just a more fluid project. And I was really afraid that I wasn't going to have enough things to talk about because I don't actually interview anyone. I'm just like spitballing things that I'm going through in my life or that I see other people go through. And somehow I've been able to find 42 things to talk about.
Isn't that amazing when you first get started?
Yeah, and I think it's because it's fun for me. It's like a creative outlet. I have no expectation from this because it's actually really hard. It takes a lot of time and it takes commitment, right? Especially if you're putting out every week. Time and commitment and consistency to keep it going. And I found that the way to do that for me specifically is that as in right now, it's just a really fun creative outlet for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no expectations that it needs to give me anything in return, which I don't know that that's everyone's approach, right? Because it's like maybe if you're putting time, it needs to give you a return, but it's just fun for me. So it's just a different way for me to express my voice.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And obviously, when you first start, you never know what's going to happen or who's going to listen or if people are going to listen, right? It's kind of trusting that the right
Mhm.
people will come. Tell us about that. What results have you seen since starting?
I mean, it's kind of odd though, because I see the episodes being downloaded and listened to, but I have no idea who's really
Mm-hmm.
listening to them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a weird thing because I think on social media, you can kind of tell, who's watching your stories or who's liking your posts. So you kind of have an idea. And I think maybe I know of three people that like they consistently will like reach out to me and be like, I listened to this episode, it was so good. But other than that, I honestly don't know who these people are.
It's a
And I
mystery, but that keeps it fun, right?
it's a mystery and I just hope that they're getting something out of it. And I that's why I put out as a way to just share whatever I am learning from my own journey to help other people in their journeys. And that's really the goal. And yeah, it's interesting. It's a different way to put your message out there because I really don't know who they are.
Yeah.
I don't track a whole lot. Like I'm
Mm.
not really looking at data and like who listened, like which episode performed better. So like I'm saying, like this is probably not going to be like everyone does because I see it as like a creative outlet. So I'm really
Mm-hmm.
not looking at the numbers like I think most people probably are. So this is a different
Yeah.
way of doing. I just want to add
I
that.
think, yeah, I think that's totally fine because there is a point where, yes, you want to look at your podcast data if you're using it for marketing, if you're using it for, business growth. But if you're using it as brand building or to get your voice out there, your thoughts out there, sometimes looking at the data just hurts you because
Mhm.
you just get so stuck in the perfectionism.
Mhm. And
And
that's really what I learned. It was like if I put something out that took me a long time to put it together, to edit, and then I saw, oh my gosh, only 30 people listened to this. It's so sad. But then it's
yes,
like if I'm not caught up on that, it's like, oh, it's out. It's released.
yeah,
I don't have to
right.
like track it. I don't have to see, oh, this performed better than this one. It's out. It's the message and it did what it needed to do. It served the people that it needed to serve and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. I help people with their podcast strategies and help them with, analyzing the data and making a plan. But it's not for everyone, just like you're
Mhm.
saying. Like, there is a certain client I work with for that. And sometimes there's people who are just like you that are just like, it's out there. That's all that matters. And
Mhm.
truly, that is all that matters.
And not to say that it doesn't evolve because I think it
Right.
will. And I'm getting to a point where I can see where I want it to evolve and do it differently. But I think it's just doing it. I think that's so
Mm-hmm.
hard. Like we all have a message to share. We all have something that we want to talk about that we feel really passionate about. And it's like, why not just put it out there and see where it takes you, instead of like it has to be this thing and it has to be rigid. And I
Mm-hmm.
have a hard time with that, with like putting things in a box and a constraint, but also putting things in like it has to give me something in return other than just, this is my creative outlet.
Yeah, totally. And I think that just goes back to us getting in our own way of holding ourselves back because I find that if someone wants to start a podcast and the number one reason is to make money, they're going to burn themselves out.
Mhm.
On the other hand, if they want to start a podcast but it has to be perfect, they're probably not going to start or it's going to take them years and years and years to do so. I interviewed someone else on the podcast who talked about, her name's Kate. She said that her backdrop was what made her stop podcasting or like not start podcasting for 2 years. She just didn't know what she wanted her backdrop to be. And it's those little things that I see all the time. It's like we do strive for perfectionism and none of us are probably going to be perfect because the bar keeps being raised for
Mhm.
podcast production. It's this whole thing where it's like, what is a podcast anymore? It used to be audio, now it's video, now it's clips, now it's growth and it's just ever evolving. So,
And here's the other thing too that I do it differently, Haley, but I do not do video. So
mhm,
I do audio only. And I do think that if I did video, I would see more growth for sure. And I would be able to put it in different platforms. So I could see how it could be really beneficial. But honestly, for me, I committed to doing this for a year. And for me, it was like, I just want to put my voice out there for a year and
mhm,
talk about all these things that I'm really passionate about it. And then after that, I can reassess and I can see how I can improve. So I am thinking about potentially doing more videos and doing more of a production, right? Which involves more time. But I just wanted to be consistent. I wanted to like show it to myself that I could do it for a year. And I'm really proud of myself. I'm on week 42 of 52. And I just recorded mine today that's going to go live tomorrow. But I was in the car, just recording in the car, and it was fine. And it doesn't need to be this big deal. So I think that's how I was able to stay consistent, is that honestly, it's not a big production, it's just audio. I just literally do the voice memo on my phone, and I will talk. And then if I make a mistake or if there's like something that I don't like, I just edit right there in the voice memo, and I just go back and then replace. So then I record maybe like a 30-minute episode takes me like 45 minutes to record, but that's it. I don't have to edit the audio after. And
Yeah.
that's what I think makes it really easy for me to keep it consistent.
I love that tip. And I love how you just committed to it for a year. If we
Mhm.
could do anything for a year, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I don't know, like I had my doubts. I really did. Like in the beginning, I was like, I don't know if I can talk that much. And turns out that I can find things to talk about. There's
yeah.
enough content in our lives, or in our work, the people that we work with, or even like the things that you're learning, like the books that you're reading. Like I love that you bring stuff that you're learning, or you're talking about other podcasts. Or I saw that you went to that the Hermoses, the was it an in-person event
Yeah, it
that
was
you went
their
to?
event in Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, so that looked amazing. But I saw that like you talked about that, and it's like that's awesome. Like you're sharing with your audience the things that you're learning. And I think we all have that. We all have stuff that is we're able to share with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you come up with your content? I mean, there's so much that goes into becoming your highest self. Is it
Mhm.
things your clients are saying, or is it things going on in your own life? I know when we first chatted, we talked about how life is in seasons. So we think about your podcast in seasons too. But coming up with content, tell us more about that.
Yeah, so it kind of like it ebbs and flows. So like right now, I'm doing a 12-week series, and this is really my first time doing something more structured where I know what I'm talking about every week. And it's been nice because it actually helps me with the rest of my content, so I know what the theme is for every week. But it's all like building on each other. It's all about this journey within, and I'm using things that I talk about in my coaching. And so that's like the first time that I'm doing something more structured. But before, honestly, sometimes I wouldn't know what to talk about. So my podcast goes live on Wednesdays, and I always have it ready by like Tuesday night, and I schedule so it's on Wednesday at 12 a.m. And sometimes I wouldn't know what to talk about until like Monday. But it would be like a time for me to like reflect back on my week. Like, what happened last week? Like, what growth did I go through, or what am I really into? Like sometimes it'd be like, I don't know, I'm just going on a rabbit hole on YouTube and I'm talking about that, like I just would talk about things that I'm actually interested. And then so my process is I have my own GPT for my podcast where it knows everything about my brand, my voice. I have like standard documents on how to create, your show notes at the end. So like it's just really easy. Like I had to create ways so it was easy. So I have my own GPT for my podcast, and what I'll do is I'll just start like writing about something, right? Like whatever theme I want to talk about. And then I run it through Chat GPT and I say, hey, can you help me like expand on this? And I always like to share something personal, but then give the listeners tangible ways that they can use that in their lives, so it knows how to do that. And then it kind of puts it together, and then I'll obviously go back and then like expand or subtract. But I'd say like it probably takes me, I don't know, less than 2 hours to come up with a script that's about maybe like 3,000 words,
Okay. Yeah.
and that can cover about 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how I do it.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love
Yeah.
it. That's a great
GPT is my
process.
best friend.
I love it. I mean, we all have to like use it, right? Everyone is
Mhm.
using it. Like I know so many people are resistant to it, but it saves so much time and yeah, no, I love
And
that.
and I honestly think that the more you use it, the more it learns about you and the more it evolves with you.
Yeah.
And and you can see how your voice evolves too. And I think it makes it so much easier. Like it would be so hard for me to, I mean, I could do it, but I would probably spend like triple of the amount of time that I take right now.
Yeah.
So right now I would say to script and record and maybe create like one piece of content, right? Probably takes me like 3.5 hours per podcast, which, it's still a good amount of time. Shave up more time if I really wanted to. But I find it that it's doable for me to put
For
3 hours
sure.
a week into this project. Now, if
Yeah.
I had to put like 12 hours, then
That'd
it
be
would
a
be
different story.
then it would be like, oh, I got to look at metrics. I got to look at, like it has to give me a return at
Yep.
that point.
Yep.
So I'd say like that's about the limit that I'm willing to do it for, just a creative outlet.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. No, that's really cool. And speaking of this 12-week series that you have, I'm curious, has podcasting helped you align with your highest self better? Has it helped?
Yeah.
Like, tell us about that. I'm so curious.
Yeah. Because like I can further my thoughts, right? Like sometimes I'm going through something and like writing it out and making a lesson out of it. I'm actually like making a lesson for myself. So the same way that I'm like, you know, teaching something to my audience, I'm teaching myself too. So it's a very like co-creative experience that I'm not just giving, but I'm getting a lot too from doing these, because I learn so much like when I have to do research and when I have to dig deeper into like these different concepts. Like I am learning, right? Like in order to teach it to someone. And so it has definitely helped me. And it's something that it's like a constant theme in my life, right? Like I'm always thinking about that. Like what's the lesson here? Like what's the bigger picture here? And so it helps me a lot in my own growth experience for sure.
I love that. Because are you thinking about your life experiences and then dissecting it in a way that you're like, okay, how am I going to talk about this on my podcast
Oh
and talk
yeah,
it through? Yeah.
I talk about like, something I learned in therapy about myself, or just a different technique that I found and how to find healing for my inner child. Like I'm sharing all these things, and yeah, I think it's a very wonderful way to learn by teaching others through your mistakes or through the things that you're learning.
Yeah. My sister just graduated from nursing school, and the way that she retained knowledge is by teaching. So unfortunately,
Mhm.
my mom also had to listen to all of her nursing school stuff. We joke that my mom was going to
You
get like
should
an
have done a
honor.
podcast.
Right. We were like, she's going to have her honorary nursing degree. And at her graduation, she printed her out
That's
like a
so funny.
certificate. It was really cute. But that's how my sister learns. And that's how a lot of people learn from,
Mhm.
talking through what you've experienced or what you're trying to remember, or even talking through. It's probably why talk therapy works, right? Because you're
Mhm.
actually talking about it. So I really love that perspective of how podcasting can be whatever you want. You could talk about whatever you want in your life, and it doesn't have to be hard.
No, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and
Nope.
it doesn't have to be this, huge thing of like, oh, I think like the first episode was honestly the hardest because
Mm,
I had just so many like voices in my head, like, what are people thinking? Like, this is so like vulnerable for me to be talking about these things. Like, I talk a lot about my real honest stories and struggling with drinking and anxiety and all of these things, like they're really vulnerable things. But I think after that first episode, and then I actually had to go through that process of like, okay, and what if somebody thinks whatever X, Y, and Z about you? Then what if? And and I actually did an episode about it, like me going through that process of like working through my voices. Because it's like it never ends. Like you learn how to create awareness in your life, but that's like a ongoing process, right? Like it's never perfect. It's never like one day you wake up and you mastered it all and you can see, reality as this amazing, like it would be great, but it's not. Like it's life. And so I'm constantly like reminding my listeners that like I'm going through it too, like I'm teaching them things, but I am also learning, and it's never ending. And yeah.
I love that. I love that. I have a few rapid fire questions for you that I'm
Ooh,
excited to get
okay,
through.
let's go.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, my first one is, what was the first podcast that you listened to that really had a big impact on your life?
Mm. I used to like be really into how I built this
Mm-hmm.
like 10 years ago. And it was when I was starting my first business, and it was just very inspiring to listen to all of these different people and what they went through to create these big businesses. So I was obsessed with that one, how I built this.
Yeah. Do you have any podcasts that you recommend other people listen to as well?
So for business or
Just
for,
whatever. Whatever.
gosh, like I went through actually my podcast list recently, and it has changed so much. Like the things that I used to be into it are not
Mm.
the same anymore. So I will say, okay, the one that I really like that I found recently, it's called 10-minute Bible Talks,
Okay.
and they will like expand on a verse, and it's 10 minutes. It's very doable. It's very easy to just listen to when you're on your way to work or like right before sleep. But I find that it's so soothing and has really helped me in my journey of
Very
being
cool.
closer to scripture. Yeah.
Awesome. What is your favorite podcast genre other than obviously the genre that you're in?
I love history. I
Yeah.
love like learning about old civilizations and just yeah, I'm really fascinated by history.
I love that. Do you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify?
I listen on Apple Podcast.
Okay.
I
Nice. I
have
love that.
I don't know why. I've just gotten used to that. But I also listen to a lot of stuff on YouTube now, I have to
Okay.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, YouTube is so fast growing. And
Yeah, actually, most of my search starts on YouTube, and sometimes I'll find a podcast on YouTube and then I'll go to Apple Podcast because it's easier to find. But I'd say like I go to YouTube a lot
okay,
more than
yeah.
anything else.
There's another podcaster. Her name is, I think, Margarita. Her podcast is Being Her. I think it's Being Her. And she records in her car too. And
Oh, really?
she's very like, I like
But
her
then she
podcast.
video it?
Yeah, video. And that's just her
Oh,
brand. And
oh,
it's
I
this whole
like
thing.
that.
I'll put it in the
Maybe
show
I need to do
notes.
that. Maybe I need to do my videos in the car and
She's
not
very
do.
like moody and sultry and like very. I'll
Huh.
send you a link. I like her
Okay, I
podcast.
gotta check
So
her out.
yeah, it's a good one. Okay. What is your biggest advice for podcasters, or what's the best advice that you could share with them? I know, big question.
I would say just start where you are. Like, if you feel like you have a message and you have an itch to use your voice, don't overthink it. Just put it out there. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to hate listening to your voice at first. I still cringe listening to my voice, quite honestly. And that's fine. You're going to learn to tolerate it. And if you really honestly have a message that you want to share, just start where you are right now and don't overthink it. And it will evolve because everything evolves and changes. But you just have to start because if you never start, then there's no evolution. You can't even fail. So I'd say just fail forward, just put it out there.
Fail forward. I love that. I love that. My last question for you, Fernanda, is what is the most surprising thing that you've learned about yourself through podcasting?
Hmm. Honestly, I think that staying consistent, like that's been really an issue for me because I'll like start on things and I get really passionate about things and then I'm like done. I get bored. So this really surprised me that I've been able to stick with this for as long as I have and not just been like, I'm done. I'm bored. There's not enough people listening to, which would have been easy, to be like, this is too much work there's no return. Like I think at least like on social media, if you're putting something out, you get that little dopamine hit of like the likes and somebody commenting, right? And this is just not the same hit that you get. So I think I've learned that, yeah, I can stay consistent with the things that I'm really passionate about. And it has really helped me lean into this even more, into this message that I want to share.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining me, Fernanda. I love chatting with you. I love this conversation. Where can the audience find you and your podcast?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a joy to talk to you. And so you can follow me on Instagram. It's probably where I hang out the most. And it's Fernanda Bertrand. And you can follow my podcast, The Highest Self Project. And I have new episodes live every Wednesday. And yeah, that's probably the two best ways to connect.
Amazing. What's next for you? What's next for you?
Oh, so I'm in a really moment of transition in my life. Like we were talking about it earlier. I just moved to a very tiny town with 2,000 people. And it's just a very slow paced type of life. And I'm really enjoying that. Like just spending a lot of time with my family. I have 3 kids and a husband. And so I'm really focusing on creating more evergreen content and phasing out of one on one coaching. But I'm working on something really exciting that I've been wanting to do it forever, which is guided meditations. So I've been working on creating these different bundles for different things for inner child healing or relationships, or if somebody just wants to start with 5-minute meditations, I find that that's like such a hard thing for most of us to find stillness. And it's honestly the thing that I tell everyone at the end of every coaching sessions that I have. It's that like, yeah, like you're here, we're creating the space, but the answers are already within you, and you have to create the space to be able to even hear them. So I've been really passionate about meditations for a while now, and so I'm excited on creating these different scripts for different things, and I am going to be launching that at the end of May, and so I'm excited.
Yay, I'm excited for that
Thank
also. Oh
you.
my gosh, congrats on everything. So, no, thank you so much for joining me. And I'll put all of your links in the show notes. And when your meditations are out, I'll drop those in there as well. But I really appreciate you, Fernanda.
I appreciate you so much. This was so fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me in the Podcast Cafe. I hope you're leaving with fresh ideas and inspiration to take your podcast to the next level. Remember, podcasting is a journey and you don't have to do it alone. I'm here to help you every step of the way. Let's connect. Be sure you follow me on Instagram at Espresso Podcast Production or visit espressopodcastproduction.com for more tips, resources, and behind the scenes insights. I'd love to hear about your podcasting journey. If you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling extra generous, I'd love it if you could leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps more podcasters just like you find the show. Until next time, grab your coffee, keep creating, and I'll see you back here in the Podcast Cafe.